You click this video to finally understand Hunk, the umbrella operative known as Mr. Death, a man who survives every mission, no matter how impossible, and one of the most mysterious figures in the entire Resident Evil timeline. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the complete story of Hunk, what we actually know about him, his role within Umbrella's elite forces, the missions he survived, and why almost nothing about his identity has ever been revealed. If you enjoy this, please consider liking and subscribing. It tells me you'd like more deep dives like this. Hunk serves as the lead operative of the USS Alpha Team. This unit represents the elite tier of the Umbrella Security Service. Within the corporate hierarchy, his real name remains a permanent secret. Every internal memo and mission report uses only his 4-letter codename. This redaction is not a mere clerical choice. It is a calculated move to preserve the total anonymity of the most efficient soldier in the company history. He exists only as a shadow in the official records. The gas mask is much more than a piece of protective equipment. For this operative, the mask serves as his true identity. It is a physical barrier that separates him from the rest of humanity. When he wears the filter, he ceases to be an individual with a past. He becomes a mechanical tool for the interests of the corporation. The black lens and the grey canister represent a man who has stripped away every human emotion. He is the personification of the cold logic required to survive a biohazard zone. This mask creates a terrifying presence on the battlefield. Enemies and allies alike see only a faceless engine of destruction. The lack of a visible expression makes his actions feel inevitable. He does not show fear or hesitation during a tactical engagement. The mask also protects him from the viral agents he is sent to recover. It is a symbol of the isolation that defines his professional life. He has traded his face for the safety of the mission. The mystery of his real name has led to various theories within the mercenary community. Some believe he is a former soldier with a classified history. Others suggest he is a product of an experimental training program. Umbrella has never confirmed his origins or his legal name. This silence reinforces his status as a legendary figure. He is the ghost that completes the missions that others find impossible. His identity is defined entirely by his success rate. Hunk has become a perfect tool for the corporate vision. He does not possess the personal ambitions that often compromise other agents. He does not care about the politics of the pharmaceutical industry. He only cares about the extraction of the merchandise. This singular focus is what makes him the most reliable asset in the global network. He is a man who has hollowed himself out to make room for the mission. The mask is the only face the world is allowed to see. There are exactly 2 moments in the history of the franchise where his face is partially revealed. The first instance occurs in the epilogue of the original 1999 survival game. This file shows a weary man sitting in the cabin of a transport helicopter. He has light hair and a focused expression. He looks remarkably average for a man who has witnessed the end of a city. This image is the only official confirmation that a human being exists beneath the grey mask. The photo reveals a soldier who is physically drained by the events of Raccoon City. He is not a monster or a mutant. He is a professional who has reached the limit of his endurance. This vulnerability is a stark contrast to his reputation as an immortal reaper. It reminds the audience that his survival is a result of skill rather than magic. He is a man of flesh and bone who has learned how to navigate hell. The light hair and the sharp jaw are the only features we can confirm. The second reveal happens during the Umbrella Chronicles mission in the Caucasus Mountains. As the operative prepares for a tactical jump, his reflection is visible in his helmet lens. This brief moment confirms the visual data from the earlier epilogue. He possesses the features of a grey man. This is a term for an individual who can blend into any crowd without attracting attention. He does not have any distinguishing scars or unique traits. His face is a blank canvas that disappears once the mask is removed. This lack of a memorable appearance is a tactical advantage. It allows him to move through civilian populations without being recognized by rival agencies. He can shed his military gear and vanish into the public at any moment. This ability to be invisible is a key part of his survival strategy. He is not a man who seeks the spotlight. He is a professional who understands the value of a forgettable face. The reflection in the lens is the final proof of his humanity. These two reveals are the only cracks in the corporate armor. Capcom has intentionally kept these moments brief to maintain the mystery of the character. We know what he looks like, yet we still know nothing about his soul. The face of the weary soldier is just as enigmatic as the mask of the Reaper. He remains a man of few words and no history. These glimpses are enough to ground the character in reality while preserving his legendary status. Internal reports from the psychiatric department describe the operative as a man devoid of emotion. He does not experience the fear or the empathy that limits the performance of a standard soldier. This psychological detachment allows him to operate in environments that would break the mind of a normal person. He views the biological horrors of the corporation with a clinical indifference. For him, a zombie is not a person. It is a tactical obstacle that must be removed. This cold mindset is his greatest weapon. The reports highlight his supernatural ability to remain calm under extreme pressure. During the Raccoon City incident, his heart rate remained stable even as his team was being slaughtered. He does not suffer from the tunnel vision or the panic that often leads to tactical errors. This mental stability is the result of years of rigorous training and a natural predisposition for combat. He is a man who thrives in the chaos of a containment failure. He is the anchor for every mission he leads. Hunk does not seek the traditional rewards of glory or money. He is not motivated by the fame that comes with being an elite operative. He is driven purely by the successful completion of the mission at hand. This professional ego is the only thing that seems to matter to the man behind the mask. He views a failed mission as a personal failure of his own survival logic. He is a perfectionist who operates in a world of messy biological errors. This dedication is what makes him so valuable to the board. The psychological profile also notes a total lack of social bonds. He does not form friendships with his squad mates or his superiors. He views his teammates as tactical assets that can be expended if the mission requires it. This ruthlessness has earned him a dark reputation among the other USS units. They see him as a man who would leave anyone behind to secure the merchandise. This isolation is a choice that he makes every time he puts on the gear. He is a lone wolf who operates within a team. Umbrella sees this profile as the gold standard for a biohazard operative. They want more soldiers who possess his level of mental resilience and professional discipline. He is the ultimate realization of their training program on Rockfort Island. He is a man who has conquered his own biology to serve the corporation. His psychological profile is a blueprint for the perfect mercenary. He is a man who has moved beyond the need for a human heart to complete the industrial tasks of his employer. In 1996, the operative underwent a rigorous training program at the Military Training Center. This facility was located on the isolated Rockfort Island, a private territory owned by the Ashford family. The center was designed to produce the next generation of elite security forces for the global corporation. It was here that he mastered the art of survival in high-risk biohazard zones. As this period is the only confirmed detail of his history before the disaster in the Midwest, the training on the island was notoriously brutal and often lethal. Recruits were pushed to their physical and mental limits in simulated combat scenarios. They were trained to fight in tight spaces and to manage viral containment breaches with surgical precision. Hunk excelled in every discipline, proving his worth to the instructors and the corporate observers. He was the standout candidate of his class, demonstrating a level of focus that was unprecedented. This was where he earned his place in the Alpha team. Rockfort Island served as the testing ground for the tactics he would later use in the sewers of the city. He learned how to navigate subterranean environments while wearing a full tactical kit. He practiced the rapid extraction of biological samples under the threat of simulated BOW assets. This training gave him the confidence to face the real horrors of the pharmaceutical research. He was a product of the island, a man who had been forged in the crucible of the Ashford interests. His success on the island established a lasting professional relationship with the high-level leadership. He became the preferred operative for the most sensitive and dangerous missions in the corporate portfolio. The instructors noted that he possessed a natural instinct for survival that could not be taught. This instinct would eventually save his life during the confrontation with the mutated scientist. The island was the birthplace of his legend. It was where the man became the Reaper. The records from 1996 are the only window into his professional development. We can see the start of his obsession with the mission and his disregard for his own safety. He was a man who embraced the darkness of the corporate vision from the start. The island provided the structure and the resources he needed to refine his lethal skills. It was the foundation for everything that followed in the history of the USS. He left the island as a perfect soldier. The official order for Operation NESTWRECKER originated from the French branch of the corporation. This operation was not a direct request from the American headquarters in Raccoon City. It was a clandestine move by the European division to secure a tactical advantage. The logistics and the tactical planning were handled by an executive named Christine Henry. She was a high-level manager based in the Loire Village facility in France. She was the one who personally oversaw the deployment of the Alpha team. Christine Henry represented the internal rivalry that defined the late years of the corporation. The European branch was increasingly concerned about the power and the instability of William Birkin. They realized that the scientist was preparing to defect to the United States government with his research. To prevent this loss, Henry authorized the use of the most elite security force available. She chose Hunk to lead the smash and grab mission because she knew he would not hesitate. The chain of command for the mission was short and highly secretive. It bypassed the standard oversight of the American Umbrella Office. This was a private operation designed to steal the G-virus before it could be compromised. Henry provided the Alpha team with the technical data and the codes needed to infiltrate the underground lab. She was the architect of the theft, and Hunk was the executioner. The orders were clear: recover the samples and eliminate any resistance. This operation highlights the fragmented nature of the global organization. Different branches were actively plotting against each other to control the future of the viral research. The French branch wanted the G-virus to bolster their own standing within the board. They used the Alpha team as their personal scalpels to cut Birkin out of the equation, and Henry was the one who pulled the strings from across the ocean. She was the voice on the radio that sent the Reaper. Hunk followed the orders with his characteristic professional discipline. He did not care about the internal politics between France and America. He only cared about the objective that Christine Henry had defined. He saw himself as a neutral tool in a corporate dispute. The mission was a tactical problem that needed a logical solution. The order was signed in a village in France, but it would lead to the destruction of a city in the Midwest. The primary objective of the Alpha team was a rapid smash and grab operation within the Nest facility. This was the massive underground laboratory located beneath the streets of the city. The team was sent to seize the G-virus samples and the research data from the private office of William Birkin. They were not there to engage the local police or to occupy the facility. They were a surgical strike force designed to enter the lab, take the merchandise, and vanish. Hunk led the Alpha team through the city sewer system to avoid detection. This route allowed them to bypass the RPD security and the internal monitoring of the office. They moved with a stealth that only an elite unit could manage. The team was equipped with specialized gear for a high-stakes laboratory raid. They were prepared for a tactical confrontation with the security details of the scientist. The mission was a race against time and the potential defection of their target, so the plan was built on the element of surprise. The team knew that Birkin would be defensive of his life's work. They were instructed to use any force necessary to secure the samples, but their primary goal was the preservation of the research. Hunk emphasized the importance of a clean extraction. He did not want a messy firefight that could damage the delicate viral vials. He was a professional who understood that the merchandise was more valuable than the lives of the people. Operation NESTWRECKER was a high-risk gamble for the European branch. If the team was captured, it would expose the internal civil war within the corporation. Hunk was selected because he was the only operative with a perfect success rate in such environments. He had studied the blueprints of the lab and the security protocols of the Nest facility. He was ready for every variable. The team reached the inner sanctum of the lab with a cold precision. The atmosphere in the lab was tense as the team cornered their target. Birkin was a desperate man who realized that his corporate masters had finally turned on him. The Alpha teams surrounded the scientist, weapons drawn and eyes on the prize. They were a wall of black tactical gear in a room of white scientific equipment. The mission was entering its final and most dangerous phase. Hunk stood at the front, ready to take the G-virus and leave the facility forever. While the Alpha team was focused on the extraction of the G-virus, another unit was active in the city. This was the Delta team, also known by their codename, Wolfpack. Their involvement is detailed in the Operation Raccoon City mission logs. Though the canonicity of their specific actions is often debated, their presence adds a layer of complexity to the tactical landscape. They were a specialized unit sent to erase the evidence of the corporation's involvement in the outbreak. The paths of the Alpha Team and the Wolfpack crossed during the early hours of the disaster. Hunk remained the primary operative focused on the high-level objective of the G-virus. He did not let the chaos of the citywide infection distract him from the goal. The Delta Team provided a distraction and a secondary layer of security for the corporate assets. They were the hammer that struck the city, while the Alpha Team was the scalpel. This was a display of paramilitary power. The Wolfpack factor highlights the scale of the deployment during the final days of the city. Umbrella was not just sending one man, they were sending entire teams to protect their interests. The Delta Team was composed of specialists in demolition, surveillance, and biological warfare. They operated with a brutality that matched the Reaper himself. Their existence shows that Hunk was part of a larger machine designed to operate in a total containment failure. He was the elite among the elite. The interaction between the units shows a level of professional respect among the USS operatives. They shared tactical data and assisted each other in navigating the crumbling infrastructure of the city. However, Hunk remained isolated from the social dynamics of the other teams. He was focused purely on the merchandise, viewing the Wolfpack as a useful but secondary asset. For him, the mission was a solo performance with a supporting cast. He did not need a pack. The data from the Delta Team missions clarifies the timeline of the initial outbreak. It shows how the city was systematically dismantled by the corporate interests, while the public was still trying to understand the infection. The Alpha Team was the core of this operation, the unit that held the keys to the future. The Wolfpack was the support that ensured the Reaper could reach his extraction point. Together, they represented the total power of the pharmaceutical giant. The confrontation in the laboratory was the spark that lit the fuse for the global disaster. Hunk and the Alpha Team cornered William Birkin in his private research area. The scientist was clutching a briefcase containing the only samples of his new viral masterpiece. He was a man who had lost everything except his work. He refused to hand over the merchandise to the corporate mercenaries, realizing that his life would be over once the samples were secured. During the tense standoff, a young and panicked USS operative named J. Martinez lost his nerve. He opened fire with his submachine gun, riddling the body of the scientist with high-velocity rounds. This was a catastrophic breach of the mission protocol. The plan was to secure the target without a loud and messy firefight. Hunk was visibly annoyed by the lack of discipline. He scolded the team for the mess, his cold voice echoing in the sterile room. Hunk proceeded to take the G-virus samples from the fallen body of the scientist. He did not show any empathy for the dying man on the floor. To the Reaper, Birkin was now just a biological obstacle that had been removed. He checked the vials for damage and secured them in his tactical case. The objective had been achieved, even if the method was clumsy and unprofessional. He gave the order for the team to withdraw through the sewers to reach the point. The team left Birkin for dead in the lab, believing the threat was over. They did not realize that the scientist had one final card to play. As the Alpha Team moved into the darkness of the tunnels, Birkin used his last ounce of strength to inject himself with the G-virus. This act of desperation would transform him into a nightmare of infinite mutation. The mission was successful in its first stage, but the Reaper was about to be hunted by the merchandise. This moment in the lab is the turning point for the entire franchise. The lack of discipline from a single soldier led to the birth of a monster that would destroy the city. Hunk was the only one who realized the danger of the situation. He knew that a wounded and desperate man with a virus was a variable they could not control. He pushed his team to move faster, his professional instincts warning him of the coming storm. The Reaper was now a target. Part 9. G-Birkin's Revenge. How the mutated scientist wiped out almost the entire Alpha team. The mutated scientist pursued the Alpha team into the dark tunnels of the city sewers. He had become a massive and grotesque monster, fueled by a biological rage and the power of the G-virus. He systematically slaughtered the elite operatives with a strength that was beyond any known BOW. The tunnels became a graveyard for the corporate soldiers. They were trapped in a tight environment with a predator that could not be killed by standard gunfire. Hunk was the only operative who did not succumb to the absolute panic of the situation. While his teammates were screaming and being torn apart, he remained focused on the preservation of the merchandise. He used his tactical experience to evade the initial strikes of the monster. He saw his squad mates as human shields that bought him the time he needed to find a route of escape. This cold survival logic allowed him to endure the slaughter. The monster was a physical manifestation of the corporation's own sins. It was a research project that had turned into a butcher. The Alpha team, despite their elite training, were helpless against the rapid mutations of the G-virus. They were the victims of their own employer's greed. Hunk watched from the shadows as his unit was reduced to tactical gear and broken bones. He realized that he was now the final survivor. He was the only one to deliver the prize. G-Birkin's revenge was a total and violent failure for the USS unit. The most elite team in the world had been wiped out by a single subject. This disaster proved that the G-virus was a force that nobody could truly control. Hunk was the only variable that the monster could not solve. He used the chaos of the fight to disappear into the deeper tunnels, clutching the vial that was worth more than the lives of his friends. He was the Reaper. The slaughter in the sewers established his reputation for decades. He was the man who survived the encounter with the god of mutation. While the rest of the world was dying, he was calculating his next move. He had lost his team, his backup, and his support, but he still had the mission. This was the moment where he earned his title as the fourth survivor. He was the one who could not be killed by the fire or the monster. The tactical call sign, Goblin 6, refers to the transport pilot assigned to the Alpha team. This pilot represents the final link in the extraction chain for the 1998 mission. While Hunk moved through the dark tunnels, the pilot maintained a holding pattern above the burning city. The pilot was the only person who knew the exact location of the Reaper during the chaos. This coordination was essential for a successful recovery of the merchandise. The helicopter was a silent witness to the destruction of the community. Goblin 6 waited at the designated roof while the urban disaster unfolded below. The pilot ignored the distress signals from the other military units struggling in the streets. The orders from the French branch were absolute and clear regarding the extraction. Only the Alpha team was to be retrieved from the quarantine zone. The pilot watched as the fires consumed the residential districts from the cockpit. This dedication to the contract allowed the mission to reach its final stage. There is a common debate regarding the survival of the pilot after the extraction. Some early records suggest that the helicopter was the only other escape from the sewers. However, Hunk is the only operative who reached the European headquarters with the viral sample. The pilot served as a functional tool for the extraction, rather than a long-term partner. Once the helicopter left the city limits, the pilot vanished from the corporate records. the mission was a solo victory for the Reaper in the eyes of the board. The death of the pilot is often implied in the later reports from the organization. Umbrella had a habit of cleaning up any witnesses to their clandestine operations. A pilot who had seen the G-virus and the lone survivor was a professional liability. The corporation preferred to leave no physical traces of the NESTWRECKER incident. This cold logic matched the philosophy of the man sitting in the cabin. The pilot was a disposable asset in a high-stakes game of biological theft. Hunk never mentioned the pilot in his final mission debrief to the executives. He focused entirely on the tactical details of the retrieval and the condition of the vials. The pilot was just another variable in the survival equation of the night. This lack of acknowledgement shows the mechanical nature of the operative. He does not form bonds with the people who save his life. He only cares about the successful delivery of the merchandise. Goblin 6 was a ghost in the machine of the mission. Part 11, The Only Survivor. How Hunk made it out of the sewers with the sample, while everyone else died. The sewers beneath the city were infested with the biological waste of the laboratory. Hunk moved through the dark water with his tactical weapon ready for any engagement. He encountered the early offspring of the G-virus during his long trek to the surface. These creatures were the byproduct of the mutation that killed his entire team. He used his remaining ammunition to clear a path through the toxic sludge. The briefcase containing the sample remained his primary concern throughout the ordeal. He reached the police station while the building was being overrun by zombies. The facility was a maze of locked doors and narrow corridors filled with the dead. Hunk used his training from Rockfort Island to navigate the obstacles with speed. He did not stop to help the surviving officers or the trapped civilians in the lobby. He saw the city as a tactical map that needed to be solved. His survival was a result of his total lack of empathy for the dying. The operative faced a massive concentration of monsters near the extraction point. He used his grenades and his combat knife to maintain his forward momentum. He did not let the sight of his dead teammates distract him from the goal. The Reaper moved with a speed that defied the fatigue of the long mission. He was a professional who had conquered his own fear through discipline. He reached the roof exactly as the helicopter arrived for the final pickup. Hunk climbed into the cabin while the city faced total destruction from the infection. He clutched the single vial of the G-virus like a holy relic of the company. This was the only thing the corporation cared about in the Midwest. The lives of the other soldiers were a secondary cost of the pharmaceutical business. He had survived the fire and the monster to complete the contract. He was the only one who did not panic in the dark tunnels. The escape from the city was the definitive moment of his career. It proved that he was the most efficient tool in the corporate arsenal. He had walked through hell and returned with the prize for his masters. The board of directors saw him as an immortal asset for their future research. He was the man who could not be killed by the biological error. He was the fourth survivor of a city that was destined to burn into ash. Part 12, The Fourth Survivor, Resident Evil 2 Original. The canonicity, debate, and how Wesker's report settled it. The original 1998 release included a hidden mode for the players. This segment depicted the final escape of the operative from the sewers. It was a high-difficulty challenge that tested the tactical skills of the audience. For many years, the canonicity of this mode was a topic of intense debate. Fans were unsure if the Reaper had truly escaped with the G-virus. The story of the city seemed to end with the nuclear strike. Wesker's report eventually settled the matter in 2001. This fictional file was released to bridge the gap between the different games. It confirmed that Hunk did indeed deliver the sample to the French branch of the company. The success of the Reaper was a vital part of the global narrative. It explained how the corporation managed to survive the fall of the American office. The mission was a tactical victory for the European division over their rivals. The report highlighted the efficiency of the operative during the disaster. It noted that he was the only soldier who remained loyal to the mission. While others were trying to save themselves, Hunk was securing the future of the research. This dedication is what earned him the respect of Albert Wesker. The file turned a secret game mode into a core part of the history. He was the man who kept the fire of the research burning. The canonicity of the mission is essential for the later events in the series. Without the G-virus sample, the research in France would have stalled. The sample provided the raw material for the next decade of biological warfare. Hunk was the bridge between the old world and the new era. His survival was the most important variable in the corporate survival strategy. He was the one who delivered the god of mutation to the board. This confirmation established Hunk as a legendary figure in the lore. He was no longer just a hidden character in a minigame for the fans. He was a professional who had changed the course of history through his survival. The report showed that the corporation valued his success above all else. He was the Reaper who brought the gift of death to his masters. The story of the fourth survivor was finally etched in stone for the franchise. Part 13. The fourth survivor, Resident Evil 2 Remake. What the remake changed, what it clarified, and what it confirmed. The 2019 remake updated the escape sequence for a modern audience. It showed the operative moving through a high concentration of monsters with a cold grace. The game emphasized his total lack of fear during the mission through his movements. He faced armored zombies and botanical mutants in the marshalling yard. The soundtrack added to the feeling of a professional retreat through the ruins. This version confirmed his status as a legendary survivor for a new generation. The remake clarified the timeline of the mission in the sewers. It showed the Reaper navigating the ruins of the laboratory while the city was dying. The environment was much more detailed and atmospheric than the original 1998 version. Hunk moved with a weight and a purpose that matched his reputation. He used his specialized tools to bypass the obstacles of the infection. He was a mechanical force in a world of organic decay and rot. The new version also confirmed the Mr. Death persona through the dialogue. Hunk spoke with a voice that was devoid of any human warmth or concern. He communicated with the pilot in a series of short and professional codes. He did not express any regret for the loss of his team in the tunnels. This clarity helped the audience understand the psychological profile of the man. He was a tool that was designed for one specific task in the field. The finale of the mode showed the operative reaching the helicopter at the RPD roof. He looked back at the burning city with an indifferent expression. The remake confirmed that nothing, not even a global apocalypse, could stop his momentum. He was the personification of the corporate will to survive the fire. The mission was a success because he was a man who did not care about the human cost. He was the ultimate professional soldier. This updated version solidified his place in the modern history of the series. It proved that the character remained relevant after 20 years of lore. He was the Reaper who never changed his methods or his mask. The remake allowed the audience to experience the cold efficiency of the fourth survivor. He was the one who walked through the grave and did not blink. He was the man beneath the mask who finished the job. Part 14. The T-virus in the water supply. How the broken vials from Hunk's mission caused the Raccoon City outbreak. The struggle in the tunnels had a secret and catastrophic consequence for the entire region. During the violent firefight with the mutated scientist, several vials of the T-virus were shattered on the floor. The green liquid leaked into the wastewater of the city sewer system. This was the true start of the Raccoon City outbreak in 1998. The biological pathogen was now free to move through the infrastructure of the town. Hunk had accidentally triggered the end of the civilization he was sent to protect. Infected rats consumed the viral liquid and spread the infection through the residential areas. The T-virus was a highly contagious agent that moved through the population with terrifying speed. It reached the water treatment plant within hours of the mission failure in the lab. The citizens of the city were being poisoned by their own utilities while they slept. This was a silent invasion that no one was prepared to fight. The Reaper had unknowingly opened the gates of the grave for 100,000 people. The biological leak turned the city into a massive laboratory for the corporation. The infection created a wave of zombies that overwhelmed the local police and the medical staff. This chaos provided the distraction that Hunk needed to complete his escape through the station. However, it also meant that his mission was the direct cause of the disaster. He was the one who broke the seal on the apocalypse. This irony is a core part of the dark history of the USS Alpha Team. Umbrella realized the mistake almost immediately, but chose to let the infection spread through the streets. They saw the outbreak as a perfect opportunity to gather data on their biological weapons. The lives of the citizens were seen as data points in an industrial experiment. Hunk was the one who provided the spark for this global horror. He was a professional who had caused a civilian massacre through a tactical error. The vials in the briefcase were safe, but the vials on the floor had changed the world. The water supply remained the primary vector for the infection for several days. It was a systematic poisoning that erased the social order of the town. By the time the government realized the danger, it was already too late for a standard quarantine. The city was a biological war zone that required a nuclear solution from the military. Hunk was long gone by the time the bomb was dropped. He had delivered the prize and left the ruins behind him. He was the man who started the fire. This ripple effect is what makes Hunk a central figure in the entire franchise. He is not just a survivor, he is the catalyst for the story. His mission beneath the streets is the reason the mansion incident moved into the urban center. He represents the danger of a professional operative with a biological load. A single broken vial was enough to erase a century of human history. He is the Reaper who brought the plague to the doorstep of the modern world. His involvement in the outbreak is a secret that the corporation tried to bury for years. They did not want the public to know that their own security team had caused the disaster. Hunk remained silent about his role in the destruction of the town. He viewed the outbreak as a technical detail of a failed containment. He did not feel the guilt that would have broken a normal man. He was the perfect soldier because he was a man who only looked forward to the next contract. Part 15. The Loire Village Delivery. The confirmed post-escape mission to Christine Henry that the fandom overlooks. The operative traveled to Europe immediately after his successful escape from the Midwest. He reached the Loire Village in France to complete the final stage of his contract with the company. This facility was the heart of the European Research Division and a private estate for the corporate elite. He delivered the G-virus sample to Christine Henry, as she had instructed months before. This delivery kept the corporation alive for several more years during the bankruptcy trials. It was a secret victory that the public never discovered. The Loire Village delivery is often overlooked by the casual fans of the series. They focus on the escape from the city, but ignore the destination of the merchandise. The handoff was a formal and clinical event in a quiet French village. Hunk presented the vial to Henry with the same indifference he showed in the sewers. He had fulfilled the terms of the agreement despite the loss of his entire unit. He was a professional who had returned with the prize. This mission solidified the standing of the French branch within the global organization. They now held the most valuable biological research in the history of the pharmaceutical industry. Christine Henry used the G virus to bolster her own power and to initiate new projects. The sample provided the foundation for the next decade of pharmaceutical development. Hunk had changed the balance of power within the board of directors. He was the favored soldier of the European elite. The handoff also served as a debrief for the disaster in America. Hunk provided the tactical data on the performance of the USS units and the behavior of the mutated scientist. This information was used to refine the training programs on Rockfort Island. The corporation learned from the mistakes of the Alpha team to build a more resilient force. Hunk was the only teacher left who had seen the G virus in action. He was a living encyclopedia of biological warfare for the board. After the delivery, the Reaper disappeared into the shadows of the Loire facility. He did not seek a reward or a promotion for his success. He only wanted his next assignment from the corporate masters. He was a man who lived for the work rather than the credit. The village was a temporary stop in a life of constant deployment. He was the tool that had been cleaned and reset for the next mission. He was ready to hunt again in the darkness. The delivery proved that the corporation was still a threat, even after the Raccoon City incident. They had the resources and the agents to move their research across the ocean. The G virus was no longer trapped in a laboratory. It was in the hands of a global syndicate. Hunk was the one who made this transition possible through his survival. He was the bridge between the American failure and the European future. He was the man who saved the corporation from its own mistakes. The quiet nature of the delivery is a stark contrast to the violence of the city. It shows the two worlds that the Reaper inhabits. He is a soldier in the tunnels and a courier in the village. He moves through both environments with the same level of detachment. The Loire Village mission was the final act of the 1998 tragedy. It ensured that the legacy of William Birkin would live on in a different laboratory. Hunk had delivered the future of death. Part 16, the T and G virus. How the sample Hunk delivered to France became the basis for Umbrella's next weapon. The sample retrieved from the sewers of the Midwest led to a new and dangerous project in Europe. Scientists at the French facility used the G virus to create a hybrid agent. This became the T and G virus, seen in the Atlantic incident of 2002. It was an attempt to combine the electrical properties with the viral mutation of the Birkin research. This hybrid was designed to create a more stable and controllable bow asset. The Reaper had provided the raw material for this scientific nightmare. The T and G virus research led to the creation of the T-091 asset. This was a prototype Tyrant that possessed the electrical abilities of the hybrid strain. It was a massive and lethal creature that was tested on the luxury liner Spencer Rain. This incident proved that the corporation was still capable of producing world-class horrors. The research was a direct result of the successful delivery in Loire Village. Hunk was the silent partner in every new mutation that followed in the labs. The hybrid virus was also used by the rogue researcher Morpheus D. Duval. He intended to use the agent to hold the world's governments hostage. The T and G virus allowed him to mutate into a beautiful but lethal being with superhuman speed. This was the ultimate realization of the European vision for the G virus. It was a weapon that could enhance the host while maintaining a level of tactical intelligence. Hunk had delivered the key to a new era of biological warfare. Without the efforts of the Alpha team, this entire branch of science would not exist. The corporation would have lost the G virus in the nuclear fire of the Midwest. The Reaper had preserved the most advanced research in the history of the pharmaceutical industry. He was the one who allowed the scientists to continue their work in the safety of France. The T and G virus was a monument to his professional success. He had provided the blood of the god to the corporate elite. The research also highlighted the internal competition between the regional branches. The European division wanted to surpass the American results through the use of the hybrid agent. They saw the T and G virus as a more refined product that would dominate the global black market. This ambition was fueled by the successful extraction in 1998. Hunk had given his masters the power to outpace their rivals. He was the engine of the corporate evolution. The legacy of the T and G virus continues to haunt the franchise. The hybrid agent proved that the viral strains could be combined into even more dangerous forms. This set the stage for the creation of the C virus and the Ouroboros project in later years. The science of the corporation was always building on the foundations of the past. Hunk was the one who had secured those foundations in the dark water of the sewers. He was the architect of the next generation of death. The T and G virus was the bridge between the old umbrella and the modern bioterrorism. It showed that the G virus was too powerful to be ignored by the scientists. Hunk was the only one who could have delivered such a volatile sample across the Atlantic. He was the courier of the apocalypse. Every victim of the T and G virus can trace their fate back to the briefcase in the helicopter. The Reaper had ensured that the horror would never end. Part 17. Grim Reaper. The pre-Raccoon City. Nickname, what it meant, and when he actually earned it. The nickname Grim Reaper was a result of his high survival rate during the early years of his career. It was a title that was whispered among the other mercenaries and security forces of the company. Hunk was often the only survivor of missions that suffered a 100% casualty rate. His teammates died in the line of duty, while he always returned with the objective. This pattern earned him a dark reputation as a man who walked with death. He was the one who stayed alive while the world around him burned, and other USS operatives started to believe he was a jinx to his own squad. They were afraid to be assigned to the Alpha team because they knew the odds of survival were low. They saw Hunk as a cold and indifferent leader who would use his own men as tactical shields. This reputation created a culture of fear and respect around the man in the mask. He was not a brother in arms. He was a force of nature that consumed everything around it. He was the Reaper who never missed a harvest. Hunk actually earned this nickname long before the disaster in the Midwest. His missions in the early 90s were characterized by extreme risk and high body counts. He was the one sent into the most unstable environments to recover corporate data. He thrived in the zones where others failed. The nickname was a professional observation of his cold survival logic. He did not care about the luck of his squad mates. He only cared about the physics of the engagement. The corporation saw the nickname as proof of his elite status. They did not value the lives of the expendable security forces. They only valued the success of the high-level operatives. A Reaper who could return with the merchandise was more valuable than 100 soldiers who died in the attempt. Umbrella embraced the dark persona of their top agent. They used his legend to intimidate their rivals and to inspire their new recruits. He was the gold standard for a biohazard mercenary in the industry. Hunk accepted the title with a professional indifference. He did not seek the fame that came with the Reaper nickname. He understood that his survival was a result of his training on Rockfort Island rather than magic. He saw the death of his squad mates as a failure of their own tactical discipline. He was the Reaper because he was the only one who followed the rules of the mission. The nickname was a reality that he carried every time he put on his grey gas mask. The Grim Reaper persona defined the culture of the Alpha team. They were a unit that operated on the edge of the grave. Every mission was a gamble with the lives of the soldiers. Hunk was the only one who never lost the bet. This consistency is what made him a legend in the mercenary world. He was the man who could walk through the valley of death and come out the other side with the briefcase. He was the final survivor of every story he was a part of. This title is a reflection of the man's total lack of humanity. He does not grieve for the people he loses in the field. He only sees the mission and the extraction point. The Grim Reaper is a name for a machine that looks like a man. It is a title that he will carry for the rest of his life. He is the one who remains standing when the smoke clears. He is the personification of the corporate will to endure at any cost. Part 18. Mr. Death. The Resident Evil 3. Epilogue. The nickname's formal introduction and what the file actually says. The title Mr. Death was formalized in the 1999 epilogue files of the third Resident Evil game. It was a high-level introduction to the persona of the operative after the Raccoon City incident. The file highlighted his ability to thrive in a lethal environment that would destroy any other human. It described a man who was no longer a person, but a mechanical force of nature. This title was a recognition of his total mastery over the biohazard zone. He was the personification of the corporate heart. The file noted that Hunk did not just survive the fire, he mastered the fire. He was a professional who could navigate a citywide apocalypse without losing his focus. The corporation viewed him as the ultimate realization of their cold philosophy. He was a man who did not fear the end of life because he had already moved beyond it. Mr. Death was the final brand for the man who had erased his own identity. He was the perfect tool for a company that traded in industrial extinction. This formal introduction was a signal to the fans that the character was a major player in the lore. He was not just a bonus feature in a hidden minigame. He was the gold standard for a mercenary in the world of Resident Evil. The title, Mr. Death, carried a weight of professional respect and existential dread. It told the story of a man who had conquered his own fear through discipline and training. He was the Reaper in a modern tactical vest and a grey mask. The file also discussed his relationship with the merchandise. It stated that he viewed the viruses as his only true companions in the field. He did not need a team or a family because he had the mission. This psychological insight clarified why he was so successful in high-casualty environments. He was a man who had hollowed himself out to make room for the goal. Mr. Death was a name that reflected the emptiness of the man behind the mask. He was a ghost in the gear. Umbrella used this persona to market their security services to other syndicates. They showed that they possessed an operative who could survive anything and deliver any sample. Hunk was the physical proof of their industrial superiority. He was the Reaper who worked for a paycheck. This commercialization of his legend added a layer of corporate cynicism to the character. He was a hero to the monsters and a nightmare to the innocent. He was Mr. Death. The title remained his primary identifier for the next 20 years. It became a shorthand for the ultimate professional in the mercenary community. Every new agent was compared to the man who survived the sewers of the Midwest. He was the benchmark for survival and efficiency in a biological war. The formal introduction in 1999 was the start of a legend that would never die. He was the fourth survivor, the Reaper, and the master of the grave. Mr. Death is a title that implies a certain level of immortality. It suggests that death has no power over the man, because he is a part of it. He is the one who delivers the end to others while he stays behind. This aura of invincibility is what makes Hunk such a compelling figure. He is a man who has looked into the abyss and found it familiar. He is the one who walks through the fire and does not burn. He is the final result of the corporate vision. Part 19, The Rival. What the confirmed rivalry with Nikolai Zinoviev says about both men. Nikolai Zinoviev serves as the ideological mirror to the man in the grey mask. While Hunk belongs to the elite USS, Nikolai is a high-level operative within the UBCS. These two units represent the different philosophies of the corporate military structure. The USS is composed of brainwashed loyalists who value the mission above all else. The UBCS is a collection of war criminals and mercenaries who operate for personal profit. This fundamental difference created a quiet tension between the two top agents. They are the two most lethal predators in the history of the company. Nikolai is a predator who views the biological outbreak as a financial opportunity. He collects combat data on BOW assets to sell to the highest bidders on the global market. He is willing to murder his own teammates to increase his personal share of the reward. This greed stands in sharp contrast to the cold discipline of Hunk. The Reaper does not care about the money or the data. He only cares about the successful recovery of the merchandise. He is a tool of the board, while Nikolai is a parasite on the system. The rivalry is confirmed through internal files and the events of 1998. Both men were active in the city during the final hours of the infection. They occupied the same tactical space, but moved with very different objectives. Nikolai was hunting the survivors and the evidence, while Hunk was hunting the G-virus. They represented the two different sides of the corporate coin. One was the loyal shadow, and the other was the selfish snake. They are the two pillars of Umbrella's military legacy. This rivalry tells us that the corporation was not a unified front. It was a collection of competing interests that often sabotaged each other for power. Nikolai viewed Hunk as a mindless slave to the mission protocols. Hunk likely viewed Nikolai as a tactical liability who could not be trusted in a containment zone. Their existence proves that the elite mercenary world is a solitary and dangerous profession. They were the two best hunters in a city full of helpless prey. The interactions between the two men were limited but significant. They shared a professional respect for each's lethality, but a total disdain for their methods. Nikolai was a man who needed witnesses to fail so he could succeed. Hunk was a man who simply ignored the existence of witnesses altogether. This ideological clash defined the internal politics of the paramilitary divisions. They were the peak performers of a dying company. Their rivalry is a study in the different ways humans react to the end of the world. Nikolai eventually vanished into the black market, continuing his pursuit of profit through betrayal. Hunk remained the dedicated professional, completing his contracts until the very end. This outcome highlights the stability of the Reaper compared to the volatility of the Silver Wolf. Hunk is a constant in the world of Resident Evil. Nikolai is a variable that eventually burns out in the fire. They are the two paths a soldier can take when they trade their human soul for a corporate paycheck. Part 20. The Code Veronica file. The confirmed post Raccoon delivery to Rockfort Island and what it tells us. A classified memo found by Claire Redfield in 2000 confirms a mission to Rockfort Island. This delivery occurred shortly after the escape from the Midwest and the handoff in France. Hunk was tasked with transporting a specialized container to the training facility owned by the Ashford family. This file is one of the few pieces of evidence that shows his life after the destruction of the city. It proves that the corporation continued to utilize his skills for high-value logistics. He remained the primary courier for the global viral market. The memo revealed that Hunk had a professional ego regarding his assignments. He complained about the lack of tactical necessity for the mission to the island. He viewed the transport of a single container as a task that was beneath his level of expertise. This rare display of personality tells us that he values a challenge. He wants missions that test his survival skills rather than simple courier jobs. He is a man who defines himself through the difficulty of his work. He is the master of the biohazard zone. This file also clarifies his relationship with the high-level researchers. He was not just a soldier. He was a trusted advisor on the transport of BOW merchandise. He knew exactly what was inside the container and how to handle it during transit. His expertise was required to ensure that the asset did not escape or degrade during the long voyage. He was the only one the corporation trusted to move their most sensitive prototypes. He was the guardian of the future research. The delivery to Rockfort Island shows that the Reaper was still loyal to the original mission. Even as the company faced global scrutiny and legal trials, he remained at his post. He did not attempt to sell the container to a rival syndicate for personal gain. He followed the orders of the board and reached his destination. This consistency is what made him a legend among the executives. He was the one constant in a world of corporate collapse. He was the professional who never blinked. The memo also mentions his interactions with the island's security detail. He was a man who demanded perfection from the soldiers around him. He viewed the training facility as a vital part of the organization's future. His presence on the island was a reminder of the standard that every recruit was expected to reach. He was the product that the facility was trying to replicate. He was the living proof of the Ashford training methodology. He was the gold standard for the USS. The Resident Evil Code Veronica file is a bridge between the early games and the post-Umbrella era. It shows that the Reaper was active during the events of the island outbreak. While he was not seen on camera, his fingerprints were all over the logistics of the disaster. He had delivered the monster that the survivors would eventually have to fight. He was the silent partner in the tragedy of the Ashford family. He was the one who moved the pieces on the chessboard. Part 21. The Tyrant in the Crate. What T-78 was, where it went, and why Hunk objected to the mission. The specialized container delivered to Rockfort Island held a T-78 Tyrant. This was a high-level BOW asset, designed for extreme combat efficiency. It was a refined version of the mass-produced Tyrant series seen in the early years. The asset was intended for the training of the elite security units on the island. Hunk was the one who personally oversaw the transport of this lethal merchandise across the ocean. He was the guardian of the metal crate. The T-78 possessed a massive physical strength and a rudimentary level of tactical intelligence. It was equipped with specialized limiters to keep its power under control during the long transport. Hunk knew that if the container was compromised, the Tyrant would slaughter the entire crew of the ship. This risk is why the corporation assigned their best operative to the task. He was the only one with the mental stability to manage a crate full of death. He was the master of the biological load. Hunk objected to the mission because he saw it as a waste of his tactical talents. He believed that a standard transport unit could have handled the delivery. He wanted to be in the field, hunting viral samples or containing outbreaks. This objection proves that he has a clear understanding of his own value to the company. He is a man who wants to be used as a weapon, not a delivery driver. This professional pride is the only human trait he seems to possess. The mission ended with the successful delivery of the Tyrant to the facility. This asset would later be unleashed during the outbreak to hunt Claire Redfield. The Reaper had fulfilled his contract, even if he did not agree with the necessity of the task. He was a professional who followed the rules of the organization. His success ensured that the Ashford family had the resources they needed for their experiments. He was the one who brought the hammer to the island. The T078 in the crate represents the scale of the corporate logistics. They were moving massive biological weapons around the world like standard freight. Hunk was the one who ensured that these shipments remained secret and secure. He was the engine of the global viral economy. His objection to the mission shows that he was becoming weary of the corporate bureaucracy. He wanted the raw challenge of the biohazard zone. He was a predator looking for a hunt. The transport of the Tyrant is a detail that highlights the technical side of the lore. It shows how the different assets move between the games. Hunk is the link that connects the Raccoon City incident to the Rockfort Island crisis. He is the person who makes the story possible through his professional efficiency. He was the one who delivered the monster in the box. He was the silent architect of the maritime horror. He was the man who made the nightmare mobile. Part 22. After Umbrella. What is confirmed versus what is speculation about his life after Umbrella's collapse. After the 2003 bankruptcy of Umbrella Pharmaceuticals, Hunk vanished from the official records. The corporate infrastructure that supported his missions was dismantled by the international community. This left the world's most efficient mercenary without a master. It is widely believed that he became a high-priced mercenary on the global black market. He possessed a set of specialized containment skills that were in high demand among various bioterror groups and private governments. He was a man with $1 million price tag. The period following the collapse is a time of intense speculation. Some reports suggest he worked for a variety of shell companies to track the viral samples he once recovered. Others believe he retired to a quiet life under a new identity. However, his psychological profile suggests that he cannot exist outside of a mission. He is a man who is defined by the gear and the mask. It is highly likely that he continued to operate in the shadows of the viral market. He was the ghost of the pharmaceutical era. Hunk's survival during the global outbreaks of the 2010s is a matter of legend. He was likely active during the Adonian Civil War and the Lanxiang incident. His ability to navigate a biological disaster made him a valuable asset for any syndicate. He did not care about the ideology of his employers. He only cared about the terms of the contract. He was the ultimate professional in a world of ideological chaos. He was the Reaper for hire. Speculation also points to his involvement in the creation of the new Blue Umbrella. Some fans believe he was recruited to help the former employees fix the mistakes of the past. However, Hunk's history of total loyalty to the original company makes this unlikely. He is a man who stays in the dark. He is more comfortable as an enigma than a public hero. He remains the most successful veteran of the Raccoon City disaster. He is the one who never left the sewers. The lack of confirmed data is an intentional move by the developers. They want Hunk to remain the ultimate mystery of the franchise. He is the character who exists on the edge of the story. We know he is alive, but we don't know where he is. This ambiguity keeps the character relevant in every new chapter. He is the permanent threat that can appear at any moment. He is the man who outlived his own creator. He is the master of the afterworld. His life after Umbrella is a story of professional excellence and total isolation. He does not have friends or family to hold him back. He is a mechanical force that moves from one contract to the next. He is the gold standard for every new generation of mercenary. Even without the corporate backing, he remains the most dangerous man on the planet. He is the fourth survivor who turned survival into a business model. He is the legend that refuses to fade. Part 23, the CQBZ, Fighting Style, the confirmed legacy he left behind after going freelance. Hunk is the architect of the close-quarters quarantined battle style, known as CQBZ. This combat system was designed specifically for fighting BOW assets in tight environments. It is a fusion of martial arts and tactical weapon work. The style emphasizes speed, precision, and the use of specialized tools. Hunk developed this methodology during his years in the sewers and the labs. He codified the art of killing monsters in the dark. This is his permanent legacy in the military world. The style utilizes unique tools, like the zombie brainer and the zombie iron. These weapons are designed to penetrate the thick skulls of the infected with a single strike. The zombie brainer is a tactical ice pick that allows the user to climb over piles of bodies. The zombie iron is a reinforced shield used for defensive maneuvers in narrow corridors. Hunk realized that standard firearms were not always effective against the biological load. He built a system that turned the hunter into a predator. CQBZ is the gold standard for containment teams across the globe. It is taught to the elite units of the BSAA and the various private security firms. The style requires a high level of physical conditioning and a cold mental state. It is a reflection of the man who created it. It is a clinical and efficient way to manage a biological threat. Hunk has influenced the way every modern soldier fights the virus. He is the teacher of the Reaper arts. The style also includes the use of the crawler, a low-profile movement technique. This allows the operative to stay beneath the line of sight of the bow assets. Hunk understood that stealth was just as important as firepower in a containment zone. He taught his students how to move like ghosts in the ruins. Every movement in CQBZ is a calculated survival choice. It is a combat system built on the data of 1,000 deaths. It is the physics of the grave. The legacy of the fighting style remains active in the current era of 2026. Even if Hunk is not visible, his techniques are used in every outbreak. The mercenaries of the New World are all students of the fourth survivor. They wear the gear and use the tools that he designed. He has shaped the future of warfare through his own survival instincts. He is the master of the quarantine battlefield. He is the man who turned combat into a science. The development of CQBZ shows the intellectual side of the operative. He is not just a blunt instrument of the corporation. He is a tactical genius who can analyze a threat and build a system to counter it. He saw the flaws in the standard training and fixed them. He created a legacy that will outlast the pharmaceutical giant. He is the Reaper who gave the world the tools to fight the dark. He is the architect of the mercenary future. Part 24. Umbrella Corps. What the game confirms versus what is speculation about the mercenary data. The Umbrella Corps records confirm that Hunk's combat data is the primary foundation for the new era of mercenaries. These soldiers are trained using the digital recordings of his missions in Raccoon City and Rockfort Island. His movements and his tactical choices are analysed by the various rival syndicates. They want to replicate the efficiency of the fourth survivor in their own units. Hunk has become a digital ghost that trains the next wave of killers. He is the template for the perfect soldier. The game confirms that the global viral market is still obsessed with the Reaper. They see his success as a commodity that can be sold and traded. The various missions in the game are simulations designed to test the limits of the CQBZ style. Hunk's influence is everywhere, from the gear to the objectives. He is the invisible commander of the corporate wars. Even without a physical presence, he dominates the tactical landscape. He is the ghost in the machine of the new umbrella. Speculation suggests that Hunk might be the one providing the data to these syndicates. He could be selling his own mission logs to fund his life on the black market. This would make him the silent partner in the rise of the new mercenary era. He is the one who provides the gold standard for a world of biological horror. He is the merchant of death who sells the secrets of survival. He is the man who owns the data of the grave. The Umbrella Core files also highlight the decentralization of the bioterror market. There is no longer a single company in control of the research. Instead, there are a dozen rival groups fighting over the ruins of the past. They all use Hunk's data to improve their chances of success. He is the common thread that connects the different factions. He is the neutral tool that everyone wants to own. He is the most valuable asset in the digital world. The game's narrative is thin, but it clarifies the enduring relevance of the character. Hunk is not a relic of the 90s. He is a modern legend who defines the way the war is fought today. His combat data is the reason the new mercenaries are so lethal. They are the children of the Reaper, raised on a diet of tactical efficiency and viral containment. He is the father of the corporate soldier. He is the man who turned war into a data set. The legacy of the data ensures that Hunk will never truly be forgotten. Even if he never appears on camera again, his shadow will hang over every new chapter. He is the benchmark for excellence in a world of monsters. The syndicates will continue to hunt for his records until there is nothing left to find. He is the ultimate prize in the game of biological intelligence. He is the fourth survivor whose data has become immortal. He is the Reaper of the digital age. Part 25. The Resident Evil 9 commander. The figure that looked like Hunk and the status of the fan projects. Rumors regarding the Resident Evil 9 commander have centered on a mysterious figure seen in the early leaks. This individual wears a gas mask and a tactical kit that bears a striking resemblance to the USS Alpha Team gear. Fans have speculated that the leader of the rogue BSAA unit, or the new Blue Umbrella, might be Hunk himself. This would be a massive return for the character in the current era of 2026. However, Capcom has maintained a total silence regarding his official status. He remains off the record. The confusion is often fueled by high-quality fan projects like Resident Evil Requiem. This project teased a massive role for Hunk in the future of the franchise. It depicted the Reaper as a major antagonist or a secret protector of the global order. While these projects are impressive, they are not part of the official canon. They represent the deep desire of the audience to see the character return to the center of the story. Hunk remains the most requested character for a new entry. The appearance of the commander in the official trailers suggests a shift in the political landscape of the series. The BSAA has become a corrupted organization that utilizes biological weapons. A leader who looks like Hunk would be the perfect symbol of this moral decay. He represents the man who has no empathy and no rules. If the Reaper has indeed returned, it means the war has reached its final and most dangerous stage. He is the man who can navigate a world of corrupted heroes, just Capcom's habit of keeping Hunk as a bonus character or a hidden lore detail makes a major role unlikely. They prefer to use him as a ghost that haunts the background. This allows the mystery of the character to remain intact. If they revealed his face or his name, the legend would be diminished. Hunk is a character who works best when he is an enigma. He is the personification of the cold logic that the audience finds so compelling. He is the Reaper who never talks. The status of Hunk in 2026 is a matter of intense debate. Whether he is the commander of a new unit or a lone mercenary in the shadows, he remains a central figure in the lore. He is the link to the original Raccoon City disaster. Every new game is an opportunity to find another piece of the puzzle. The fans will continue to look for the mask in every trailer and every file. He is the character who survived the end of the world and kept walking. Ultimately, Hunk is the property of the mission. He does not belong to a specific game or a specific story. He is a mechanical force that exists to complete the contract. If he appears in Resident Evil 9, it will be because the mission requires him. He is the man who walks through hell and doesn't care enough to tell the story. He is the Reaper who is always waiting in the dark. He is the fourth survivor, and he is coming for the merchandise. Part 26. What we still don't know. The real name, the origins, and the questions Capcom has never answered. After nearly 30 years of Resident Evil history, Hunk remains the ultimate enigma of the franchise. We still do not know his real name, his legal nationality, or his life before the training on Rockfort Island. Capcom has never provided a backstory or an origin for the man behind the mask. He is a character who was born in the sewers of the 1998 incident. This total lack of personal data is a unique achievement in a series that is usually obsessed with character history. He is the man with no name. The mystery of his face is another question that remains unanswered. While we have seen brief glimpses in reflections and low-resolution photos, the man's true features are a secret. We do not know if he has scars from his countless missions or if he looks like an average citizen. This anonymity allows the audience to project their own fears and expectations onto the character. He is whatever the mission requires him to be. He is the faceless Reaper who haunts the ruins of the world. We also do not know the full extent of his relationship with the Umbrella executives. Was he a loyal soldier who believed in the corporate vision, or was he just a professional who followed the money? The internal files suggest a level of dedication that goes beyond a paycheck, but his reasons remain unknown. He is a man of no words and no heart. This lack of motivation is what makes him so terrifying. He does what he is told because he is a tool. He does not need a reason to kill. The question of his current location is the biggest mystery of the modern era. He vanished in 2003 and has only appeared in digital data and flashbacks since. Is he still alive in 2026, or has the Reaper finally met his match? The legend of the fourth survivor suggests that he is still out there, waiting for the next biohazard. He is the ghost that keeps the franchise grounded in its cold corporate roots. He is the reminder of the darkness that started it all. Capcom has never answered these questions because the answers would destroy the character. Hunk is a legend because he is a mystery. If we knew his name was John Smith and he had a family in Ohio, he would be just another soldier. The gas mask and the codename are his only reality. He is the personification of the silent and efficient professional. He is the man who walked through hell and didn't care to explain how. He is the enigma that the fans will never stop trying to solve. The story of Hunk is a story of total commitment to a lost cause. He served a company that was a monster, and he did so with a level of excellence that is unmatched. He is the ultimate product of the pharmaceutical era. He left behind a legacy of blood, a legendary combat style, and a question that will never be answered. He is the Reaper who brought the plague to the world and then disappeared into the night. He is the fourth survivor, and he is the only one who knows the truth. Hunk remains the most fascinating character in the Resident Evil universe, because he is the only one who is truly empty. He is a man who has replaced his soul with a mission objective. He is the cold heart of the franchise, a reminder that in a world of monsters, the most dangerous thing is a human who has stopped being one. He is the man in the grey mask, the Reaper of Raccoon City, and the final secret of Umbrella. He is Mr. Death, and his mission is far from over.